Open the floodgates. Here we go. The Championship sacking season has begun. Ruben Selles out of Sheffield United. We are getting reports, no official word from the club yet, but these reports say he has gone. And how do I say this in a nice way? Sheffield United was quite leaky during the summer, let's just say, and we'll get to that when we tell the very short, brief story of Ruben Selles at Bramall Lane, because who had 14th of September on their sweepstake? It's an early one, isn't it? We do normally get one, and doesn't beat Ryan Lowe going out of Preston after one game or whatever it was last season. Normally we look at international break 2 in October as graveyard shift, and then November really ramps up with owners wanting managers in for the new transfer window. But you do get these situations where right at the start of the season, someone thinks a mistake has been made. This is not the guy for us. And that appears to be what's happening with poor old Ruben Selles. And look, I'm being very flippant and very YouTube-y. Get down there in the comments, hit thumbs up, subscribe while you're there. Get your views in. Do remember, somebody lost their job. I know it's football and we all get very emotional about this, but yes, it's not been a very good job done by Ruben Selles, who has lost all 5 of his EFL Championship games in charge. And look, there's 2 binary views on this type of sacking when it happens so quickly, isn't there? One will say, how do you know whether he was going to be good or not? He could have turned it around. It's short, or too short a sample size to be able to properly judge. Okay, that's one view. Unfortunately, in the reality we live in, we will never know whether Ruben Selles would have been able to turn it around. The other view is we've seen enough. He's had a chance and made an absolute dog's dinner of it. And look, I'm not in the background. I am not privy to what the players think of Ruben Selles or what the higher-ups. Well, I know what the higher-ups think of Ruben Selles, apparently, because he's in and out quicker than well. I won't do an analogy there that's pretty clanging this early on a Sunday morning. But yeah, maybe enough has been seen, enough has been said, enough has been done. And I mean, look, you can almost go through game by game. It's probably more important that we talk about the summer and the bigger picture here. In fact, let's do that first, because Sheffield United were relegated into the Championship last season. They were Chris Wilder in situ, and we can go chapter and verse on Chris Wilder, who is always keen to point out to us that he was a fan, a player, and a manager, the holy trinity there at Sheffield United, and a double promotion winner from League One up to the Premier League, and very nearly a double promotion winner out of the Championship, but he didn't quite get the job done last year. 100 points for both Leeds and Burnley meant Sheffield United were in the playoffs with 92 points on pitch. Finished miles ahead of Bristol City, thrashed them in the playoff semi-finals. But despite leading with about 20 minutes, I think, of the playoff final to go, they didn't win. And Sunderland turned it round, late winner in one of the most dramatic Wembley finals we've actually seen for years in the playoffs. And then the decision from the owners at Sheffield United, the owners that came in during last season, I think it was just before Christmas, they came in with Wilder having the Blades in a promotion battle with, of course, Leeds and Burnley, who won that battle in the end, was that they were going to keep Wilder, certainly through till the end of the season, but obviously they didn't fancy him. And maybe we'll find out in years to come whether, they didn't fancy him from the word go and they were just seeing it out. And if he got them up, he got them up and they'd review. But failure to win promotion meant Chris Wilder left Sheffield United in the summer. And I did plenty of talk about that during the close season. I always argue that if you buy something, you're kind of entitled to do what you like with it. You own it, Might not be the right thing to do. You might choose to do something that's detrimental to it. I can buy a Ferrari and paint it lime green or something. It might devalue it. It might not be what everybody would do, but I'm entitled to do that if I buy a Ferrari. And the Ferrari that is Sheffield United, well, the driver that was going to be thrown in there was Ruben Selles, who I like, who I think did a good job at Reading under very testing circumstances and kept Hull up and was sacked by Hull. So I just sent a tweet actually looking at the story breaking here from a Blades fan, presumably saying we sacked Wilder, who got 92 points on pitch, and hired Selles, who got sacked by Hull, who finished just outside the relegation. Hull had a near miss like Sheffield United did, and their near miss was not leaving the Championship for the Premier League, but leaving the Championship for League One. But Selles kept them up, and I don't know. I give Hull managers a bit of a pass at the moment because Mr. Illa-Charlie's a bit trigger happy, isn't it? But anyway, regardless of all that, I was going to say that's all water under the bridge. It might not be because, Talk Sport were going yesterday with Wilder would, quote, be open to going back, which that would be a sensational story, wouldn't it? I'll talk about that when we get into who should Sheffield United replace Selles with. But the first thing they've done is they've just got him out the door as quickly as possible. Poor fella. Again, a man lost his job, which is not nice for him. But yeah, God, just disaster from the word go. We knew probably 2 out of 3 of the star players from last season, of 3 big saleable assets, were Vinny Souza, Arnel Ahmedhodzic and Gus Harmer, the Championship Player of the Season. More from him later. Souza went to Germany, didn't he? And Ahmedhodzic, I think, went to Netherlands. I believe his contract was up at the end of the season. So those 2 went. Harmer was retained. And yeah, just opening day, a disaster. They got Bristol City'd by that particular high press. Lost 4-1. Went to Swansea. Lost 1-0. Lost 1-0 at home to Millwall. And then lost to Middlesbrough to make it 4 defeats from 4 in the opening block of fixtures in August. Then the transfer window closed, and we'd had all this noise from the Sheffield United owners, who are not covering themselves in glory here in any of this, that we were going to get innovative AI-led recruitment or something. And we saw a couple of players coming in from like Bulgaria or whatever in the start of the window, Poland. And then all of a sudden they're signing Danny Ings, Ben Godfrey, Ben Mee, where you'd think, well, okay, I'll get the signings, they're experienced Championship ready players, but are you already pivoting? Are you already, kind of moving the goalposts, so to speak? They did go for it at the end of the window. Tanganga, I like the signing. Very good in the Championship for Millwall. Matos on loan from Chelsea. Ogbene in from Ipswich. McGuinness, it's a good pickup. Luton paid a ton of money for him, so that might be a distressed asset from League One. Taif Chong as well, another one in from Luton Town. So you get this idea of, right, it's been chaos. It's always chaos for parachute teams. Not necessarily always year 2 parachute teams like Sheffield United, but you all know my views if you watch the channel on the transfer window closing 1 month after the season starting. It's bloody stupid, and I think it's not helpful at all. But there is then a sense that, okay, international break, window closes, it's the real quiz. Now, here we go. And unfortunately for Mr. Selles, they went off to Ipswich, who were in a similar situation and have lost 5-0 in an abject performance that saw Gus Harmer, the aforementioned Championship Player of the Season, left out. And you're kind of like, what's going on here? This something doesn't smell right here. I still think the lineup, and I mean, maybe this is the noose around Selles' neck, the lineup that Sheffield United put out against Ipswich is a decent squad. Cooper's brilliant in goal. McGuinness and Tanganga could be really good. Godfrey, that didn't work out, did it? Burrows was great last season. Matos is coming online. Peck was great last season. O'Hare, I think, is good. Brooks, good young player. Barry, we don't know at Championship level. Cannon, we don't know yet at Championship level. Look, it's not a 0 points, abject, lose 5-0 to an Ipswich side who hadn't got going themselves. And there was just the sense of, the players... I hate the term, the players aren't playing for the manager, but it's a real thing. It really is a real thing in life where if you have a hierarchy, a team that's all supposed to be working together and you lose that togetherness and there's a bit of a sense of, okay, the higher ups think the staff are rubbish and the staff think in this term, the management, the players, the ownership, the manager, the players. If everybody thinks everybody else in the loop is incompetent and nobody wants to work for everybody else, we know in that situation who wins out and who loses out. The players aren't going anywhere and the owners aren't going anywhere. It's always the manager, isn't it? And a crushing 5-0 collapse at Ipswich on Friday night was the last rites for Ruben Selles. And I get it. That type of defeat can be, not necessarily the final straw or the straw that broke the camel's back or other straw-related cliches and metaphors, but it can be we have to do this now. Not, there's a couple more games to go. I've literally just done my hot takes video before this news was breaking, and you're kind of looking at it saying, okay, next game's coming up for Sheffield United. They face Charlton and Oxford, a League One team from last year and a League One team from 2 seasons ago. And, they just have to win. But damage already done and Selles out. So we can debate, and we have debated the decision to take out Wilder. That's thing number one. We can then debate the decision to bring in Selles. Was he the right guy? And it's like, how far do you go back with your decisions, your debate? And you kind of just have to look at the now, where we have to debate the decision to take Selles out. And it could have got better. He could have been given more time with this particular playing staff and made it work. But it's been deemed that was not going to happen, and it might just be quicker. Don't know if they've still got their 2-week guarantee. Could take Selles back with a receipt. Sorry, I'm laughing and joking and saying this is a bloke's livelihood and job. I get it. I'm sorry. I'm being a bit crass here. You can't laugh sometimes. Hey, what are you going to do? But I think I back the decision because there's just this intangible thing. Sometimes looking at a club, a set of players, a fan base, you just know, this isn't the guy. This isn't going to work. I remember Paul Hurst at Ipswich. I think he got like 16 games or something. And he pretty much hung himself after about 3 weeks in there in the way that he interacted with the players and the media. And then he lost the fan base. And you're like, well, okay, you could have this going in 6 months or 18 months, but damage is kind of done. And I'm not saying that about Selles in terms of messaging to the fan base and to the media, but I don't think the players and the fans, and obviously now the owners, were having Selles. And sometimes it can just be the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time, following the wrong guy. But what should they do next? I mean, could you actually see Wilder going back? I don't know. That would be utterly sensational because this happened before with Wilder. I think it was Prince Abdullah was the owner where that didn't end well, but he came back. He didn't come back 2 months or whatever it is after they sacked him, and I kind of alluded to the fact it was very, very leaky on the way out. We kind of knew what was happening before it was happening there. I mean, look, not to put too fine a point on it, this is not Wilder's people, this time, because he's literally not in the building. Well, you never know who's in the building and what's coming out of the building and who's saying what to whom and how we're all finding this out before the club is announcing it. And journalists, reputable journalists, are going with it. But I don't know. Is there bad blood there? I suppose if Wilder's open to it and the owners were to come cap in hand and say, we thought this was the right thing to do, it wasn't, can you come back? Then I don't know. And the other thing is these owners are now one hire in and they've got a very, very bad record because they've obviously hired a guy who they've, by sacking him, admitted wasn't the right guy. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you bring a new guy in, or maybe it is going to be Wilder coming back? Maybe the only way they can make this sacking is to go back to the other guy, because what you're going to do, go and do interviews, and you've just done a transfer window and you're now having to find someone new who presumably before Friday's game you didn't think you were going to have to do that. So this is just chaos then, because you've got a relegation, you've got an ownership change, you've got a playoff final defeat, you've got a sacking, a hiring, a stupid busy transfer window, and then another sacking. And you're going to do another hiring when obviously Chris Wilder to Sheffield United is like putting an old pair of slippers on. That's not going to be something where a lot of due diligence is going to be needed from the higher ups side from Sheffield United, and Wilder's not going to need to do due diligence on that squad or that club. So there you go. Let it burn in the comments. So I know I was being flippant earlier, but remember, you are able to say that a bloke didn't do a very good job managing a football club without completely assassinating said person's character. Let's try and be a little bit kind with our opinions, but you're entitled to say he did a crappy job, and yeah, the whole world thinks he did a crappy job. You're also entitled to say that he could have turned it around given time, but we will never know. Get your thoughts in on Sheffield United, Ruben Selles out the door. What happens next? Is that a cap-in-hand return for Chris Wilder? Sacking season has begun. Let it burn in the comments.